Now, here's the problem that people have. Here is the downfall of Canadians when it comes to purchasing real estate. Hey, welcome back. It's Nolan Mathias from Mortgage 360, and today we're discussing should you buy a home in 2021? And I am going to give you the definitive answer to that question because believe me, it's not as difficult of a decision as you may think. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where we're going to give one lucky subscriber $5,000 to put towards their TFSA, their RSP, or their RESP just for subscribing to this channel. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it's definitely worth it. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit: product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, welcome back to what I believe is the fastest growing personal finance channel in Canada on YouTube. And today we're discussing that very difficult question of whether or not you should buy a property in 2021, because the answer to many people does not seem real obvious, but the answer is actually really simple. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to work through a framework of how to decide whether or not you should be purchasing a property in your market in 2021, because there is a lot that goes into this decision-making process. But once you understand the details and the intricacies of the market and how you should be making long-term financial decisions, it should be pretty easy for you to decide whether or not you should be buying. So let's start by looking at some of the data, because if you go and you take a look at the data from CMHC right now, for example, everything indicates that you should absolutely be purchasing a property in 2021, because if you go and you take a look at the forecasted housing prices, what you see is that they're forecasted to go up even higher than what they were in 2020. So by 2021, they're expected to go up to $650,000. This is Canada-wide average. Then in 2022, they're forecasted to go up to $676,500. And then in 2023, they're forecasted to go up to $704,900. Now, if you're taking a look at that data and you're going, okay, well, they're priced to go up significantly, and if I don't buy right now, I could end up paying up to $130,000 more for a house. Well, then obviously it makes sense to jump into the market right now, right? Well, not necessarily. The answer to this question of whether or not you should be buying right now depends largely on the circumstances in your market and your personal circumstances as well. So let's start with the circumstances in your market. If the market is absolutely crazy, you're getting lineups of 20, 30, 40, 50 people lining up to purchase a property, there's a really good chance that it is not the right time to buy in your market, because things like 40 to 50 people bidding on a property make funny and crazy things happen. And I guess they aren't that funny when you really think about it, but they make crazy things happen, like houses selling for $100,000 or $200,000 overpriced. And they make good people do bad things, like writing offers without financing conditions when they may not be able to get approved, because what people don't realize is that the property makes 50% of that mortgage approval. And until the lender knows what the property looks like, they can't say for sure whether or not you're going to get approved for that mortgage. So these run-ups and the craziness in markets leads really good people to do bad things. And my advice typically to people is, if your market is absolutely insane and if people are having bidding wars on properties, it's usually a good time to maybe sit out of the market for 6 to 12 months. Because what I can assure you is that what always happens in these markets where there are massive bidding wars is it lasts for 3 to 6 to 12 months, and then things start to subside, the craziness goes away, and you go back to normal buyer and seller conditions. Now, the prices may have run up, but at least you aren't going to find yourself in a situation where you've purchased a property for way over ask, it doesn't appraise, and you can't get a mortgage. Now, if you're going to write an offer without a financing condition, that's fine, as long as you've got the ability. And when I say that's fine, I don't mean it's actually fine. I mean, you actually have to have the ability to have a backup plan so that you can either pay for the property in cash or come up with extra money if you need it for the down payment, or have a really strong cosigner if something was missed in your pre-approval. And it happens. People get pre-approved and then don't actually get approved because there was something in the application that the broker or the lender didn't see until they went through and did full due diligence, either through their credit department or through CMHC or Sagan or Canada Guarantee, the insurance companies. So you have to make sure that if you're going to do that and you're going to write conditionless, that you are writing with a bulletproof pre-approval, and that you also accept the fact that you are taking risk, and that if you for whatever reason can't get approved, you may be on the hook for that deposit and any losses that the seller incurs. So I think it's really important to avoid the crazy markets. And if the market in your area is crazy, I think it's probably a good suggestion for you to just sit out of the market until the buying and selling process at least goes back to normal. Now, the second thing you have to think about is what your current circumstances are. If you are absolutely in need of a house right now, immediately, then yeah, probably makes sense for you to buy. But there's other alternatives. You can go and live with family. You can rent. You can wait out the market until such times as things go back to normal. Now, on top of that, if you are in a situation where you are thinking about listing your property and upgrading your house, well, it's often not the best time to do that when the market is in a crazy sort of period of massive bidding wars. Because yes, you're going to sell your lower valued property for more than you would have normally, but you're also going to pay more than you would have normally for those higher end properties. And typically when properties run up in value and markets run up in value, it's the high end properties that run up the fastest, which means you end up paying proportionally more for the house that you're buying than you're getting for the house that you're selling. So, it's really one of those things that you have to watch what's happening in your market. If your market is operating normally, then it makes sense to purchase in 2021. If your market is not operating normally, so if you're in one of those markets that has 40 people lined up, then it probably doesn't make sense. It's probably better to wait out the market at least for 6 months to a year until such time as things go back to normal. Now, here's the problem that people have. Here is the downfall of Canadians when it comes to purchasing real estate, is Canadians make long-term decisions purchasing the real estate based on short-term information. So all the information on the housing prices running up, all the data on things being crazy right now, that is all short-term information. And it really shouldn't be taken into consideration when you're making long-term decisions, which is things like, where am I going to live for the next 10 to 15 to 25 years? And I want to show you this chart. This is the new home price index, and this goes back to 1981. And the reason I show you this chart is because I want to show you the difference between thinking short-term and thinking long-term. So if you are thinking short-term right now, you're thinking, if I don't buy into a property immediately, it's going to be worth $100,000 more 6 months down the road or a year down the road, and I'm going to end up having to pay substantially more for it. And that's the wrong type of thinking to have. The type of thinking you should be thinking about when you are purchasing a property is, what does the next 10 to 15 to 25 years look like? And where do I want to be living? Because if you take a look at this chart and you look at basically 1987 to 1988, here's a big run up in prices. And then you look again, 2006 to 2007, here's a big run up in prices. And what inevitably happened was the market eventually cooled, the craziness of the competing offers went away, and then people were able to get back into the market again at reasonable prices. And at the end of the day, there were some people who bought at the top. There were some people who actually waited for the market to correct and bought at the bottom. But 25 years later, it didn't matter whether you bought at the beginning of the run-up, the top of the run-up, or when the market had corrected slightly, because 25 years later, if you looked to 2015, when your mortgage would have essentially been paid off, regardless of when you bought, 25 years later, you were significantly better off. So the main difference was that people who bought as the market corrected and people who bought at the bottom didn't have to go through that craziness of the run-ups in the prices. In fact, the people who bought at the top didn't have to go through the craziness of the multiple offers and all of those things. But there was this large portion of people who bought as the market was running up in price, who had a significant amount of stress involved with their transaction, who had a significant amount of risk associated with doing things like writing financing condition-free offers. And at the end of the day, they were sitting there thinking, well, I paid the 2021 equivalent of $100,000 less for the house, so I did better than the guy who waited, or I did better than potentially the guy who waited for the correction if I got in early in the run-up. But at the end of the day, those people all ended up in the same place 25 years down the road, and that was likely with a paid-off mortgage on a property that is of similar value. Now, if you go and you take a look at 2020 and 2021, Here's the run up. There's a pretty good chance this is going to run up into a significantly higher range than we're at right now. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you bought at the beginning of it, which was July of 2020, or whether you buy at the end of it, which may be 2022 or 2023. 25 years down the road, if you bought a house, lived in it for 25 years, and paid down the mortgage, you guys are going to be in the net same position. So it's not worth taking the risk of writing an offer with a conditionless offer and writing an offer that is significantly over the ask price in order to get a property now because you think you're going to save, because long term, 25 years down the road, we all virtually end up in the same place anyways. So the answer to the question of should I buy a property in 2021 is this. If you absolutely need to buy a property, then buy a property. If your market isn't insanely crazy, then buy a property. But if it is, maybe consider just waiting for that 6 months to a year for things to slow down, because at the end of the day, again, long term, when you're purchasing a property, it's a long-term decision. Making that decision based on long-term thinking rather than on short-term data and short-term thinking is probably going to yield you a better result than if you were just to get involved in the craziness and ultimately risk doing something silly like writing an offer to purchase on a property that you can't afford. So we have opened back up our first-time homebuyers course. If you are watching this video, you have access in the description below to sign up for that course. We run through all sorts of things like this. We run through how to select a realtor. We run through how to choose a mortgage. We run through the landmines and the surprises, the things like writing a condition-free offer that could come back to haunt you. And we've made that course available again for anybody watching this video. The link's in the description below. And we've also got our secrets to getting the lowest interest rate course that we've opened back up. It is again linked in the description below on that course with a 50% discount coupon off the already discounted price. It covers things like how to negotiate with your bank, how to negotiate with your broker, how to get the absolute lowest rate, how much margin's available in a mortgage for you to actually negotiate off, and the other types of things that you can negotiate when you are getting a mortgage. It's also got a section on renewing your mortgage and how to negotiate in that circumstance as well. My guess is that that course will get most people 10 to 50 times back what they paid. Both of these courses, by the way, the first-time homebuyers course and the secrets to getting the lowest interest rate course, are priced to be so accessible that anybody who is looking at purchasing a property can afford them. And the reason we've put them out there is quite simply because we understand that not everybody can necessarily come to Mortgage 360 to get their mortgage. One, because we're busy, but two, because some people already have a broker, already have a bank, and they just want to have the information available to them. So we've packaged that up. It's 18 years worth of information, the same sort of information our clients get when they come to us to get a mortgage. And if you do end up getting a mortgage through us, we'll refund the cost of both of those courses. Absolutely 100% guarantee. So if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where we're going to give away $5,000 to one lucky subscriber. Go ahead, click that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.
Welcome back.